We're so stuck in our own heads that we think that because I'm an actor, I'm the best actor.
You dream big, and at the end of the day, I think, dreams are for free.
Yeah. COVID hit hard and we were just struggling. I mean, we gave up a house, we gave up a plot. I then said, I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm ready now.
Every once in a while, someone comes along who forces a country to rethink what is possible. Someone who just doesn't create stories but creates an industry. Today's guest is exactly that. Tjuna Daringo, film producer, storyteller, and a leader of our time. Most recently, she produced Skeleton Coast through Mondjila Studios, one of Namibia's most ambitious productions ever. A multi-million-dollar pan-African collaboration shot right here at home, featuring major stars from across Africa and even Hollywood. This is not just filmmaking. This is Namibia stepping onto the world stage. Beyond her creative work, Shuna was recently appointed to the President's 51-member National Task Force, helping shape national priorities, including building Namibia's version of a Hollywood. Today, we go deeper into her upbringing, risk, identity, motherhood, self-doubt, speed, storytelling, influence, and the future of African film and marketing. Shuna, welcome to the More Than Logic podcast.
Thank you for that introduction.
It's a heavy one, eh?
It's a heavy one. I mean, sometimes when you listen to people talk about you, you're like, yo, is that me? Uh-huh. Is that really me? So I think thank you for the reminder of all the wonderful things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we're so caught up in what I still need to do and I haven't done enough. And I promise you, I'm that person who's like, I have not even scratched the surface level. So thank you for that. And thank you for having me as one of your guests and for recognizing me as a key industry player and advocate. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh, great stuff. I'm also excited for this conversation because now I'm thinking in my mind while you're speaking, where do I even start? I mean, I've got many different key points to touch on here. Fortunately, I brought notes because I was definitely not going to mess this one up. It's my first one in a while, guys, so bear with me, And so firstly, I just want to hear, that introduction, I think, said a lot of things. And as always, what's the story behind it? You were telling me just now before we started how you started at Delta Primary School, you went to DHPS, and now you're also acting on a world stage. You've got a worldly audience. So many cool stuff you've done. I think, so I just want to hear from you. What's your story?
Ooh, man, I also don't know where to start, to be honest. But I am really just a girl from Epukiro. Epukiro is a village.
Yeah, I'm just a girl.
It's close to Hobabas, or at least after Hobabas. It's an area we used to call it Oshiwarongo, Post Elf, and Heroes are very proud people. So growing up, you're like Post Elf, I'm a Epukiro. So it's an interesting background. I think that I've been exposed to so many different people, different ethnicities in my upbringing, apart from just the Ovahero people. I had a stepfather who's a Shuambo speaking. When I did finally make it to Windhoek, because I only got to Windhoek when I had to start kindergarten, but I was at the village most of the time, being raised by my grandparents. And so I've also, so then at that point when I started Delta, I couldn't speak English, I couldn't speak German, I could only speak Oshiherero. So my stepfather threw me in the deep end and made me go to a German-speaking school only, and I was the first black child to be at the kindergarten. And so I learned German before I learned English, so that's one of the reasons why I speak fluent German as well.
Oh wow, you speak fluent German.
Yeah,
that's quite nice. I had a German stepmother, so I can speak German as well. My brother is pointing at himself right now. He's like, I can also speak German. You guys must go. He's got an online German academy where he teaches people German.
Okay.
So he's like promoted right now.
Oh wow!
This guy there. Yeah. So no, that's pretty cool. So now, where does this story start? I think one thing I can tell about you, having met you now already, I think you dream big, and at the end of the day, I think dreams are for free.
Yeah.
But on the other side of dreams as well is execution. And so tell me the little, that story of, leaving school, going, growing into a young lady, starting your career. Did you even start in the creative industry firstly? Or was it, did you always know that this is what you wanted to pursue? You wanted to pursue filmmaking, you wanted to pursue being a producer. And I think you've also had your fair share of, trying out different businesses.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, who knows, you were maybe one of those ghost selling stockies in high school. I don't think so.
There is some kind of a truth to it.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, tell me about that. Where does it all start?
I don't know, hey. I think, well, in terms of the creative space, I did theater in grade 7. In grade 7, I was already part of like theater. So I would act in theater productions at school. This is now during my time at DHPS. And I think the stage then followed me to, pageantry.
Yeah.
So
You were in pageantry?
Yes,
Oh, wow.
I did Miss DHPS. And when I left to Concordia, I was Miss Concordia 2008. Shout out to Concordians. So apart from that, I was also a soccer player at school. I was SRC as well. So I've always been a person who tries to keep myself as busy as possible. And also I did start working during end of grade 9 because my mom was going through some financial hardships, which is also one of the reasons why I had to change school from DHPS all the way to Concordia. And so I wanted to be proactive. And so I started waitressing at Ocean Basket, end of grade 9. So I did that grade 9 and 10. And then grade 11 and 12, I used to be a waitress at Spur during the holidays and on the weekends.
I used to love Spur.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was also like a dream, like I used to eat here. Now I get to work here. Like, yay. So end of grade 12, obviously now because of my German background as well, when you're done with grade 12, it's most now, you're looking for holiday work,
Yeah.
So you are in town during the holidays, at the beginning of the holidays, especially after exams, after your final exams, dishing out my CV. And then while I was in town, walking around with my CV, I met this tour guide, but he's somebody that I know. So he's like, what are you doing? No, I'm busy job hunting. And he's like, oh, okay, my boss is looking for somebody who can help him with the holidays. So maybe that's where you can start. And this boss of his was obviously owning a travel agency. And he also had a company called Container World as well, where, you would lease or buy shipping containers, basically. So he was like, the fact that you speak German is more than enough, and he'll take you through the ropes, in terms of the others.
That's the only thing you need.
That's the only thing that you need right now, because he's really desperate and needs somebody reliable. And also, guys, it's just, answering the call, maybe just responding to one email, nothing hectic. So I'm like, I will take it. I will definitely take it if you'll allow me.
Yeah.
So went for the first interview, and then so basically when I did then start my university at UNAM the first year, I was like, thanking him, and I'm like saying, thank you for the holiday job. I really learned a lot. Can I put this on my CV,
Yeah.
And he was like, listen, what does your school timetable look like? So send it to me and let's see, maybe we can arrange something. But then I ended up working for this company for 5 years. So I was basically, while I was in varsity. So I was kind of like a junior tour consultant on the side and a sales agent on the shipping container side of things, because he owned both businesses. So I was basically his junior under him, and I would go there after my classes. So I would skip some classes, but I would be at UNAM until lunchtime.
Yeah.
And then lunchtime until 5 o'clock, I would be at work. And then obviously during holidays as well. And then sometimes over the weekends, if I need to pick up, people at the airport, I would do that. And at some point, obviously started doing, I was also a dancer in high school as well.
Okay. Hey, what kind of dancer? Ballet? Or are we talking
No, not ballet.
Piano?
No, piano was not a thing back then. It was not even a thing.
Or back when you had
those are the big
dancing.
nights days. Yeah, exactly. I was break dancing. So,
wow.
Your Chris Browns, your Missy Elliott's, your Sierras.
Loyal.
Loyal, all of those things. So those were the days. And then I also did, music videos, because I was a dancer now. So I did my first video was being a backup dancer for KK and Lil D.
Okay.
I don't know if you know that song that says "We go hard, hard." No, you need to look for it on YouTube.
We go hard. Is that the name of the song?
Yeah, we go
I'll definitely
hard.
check. So I'm just paranoid now. Is the video recording? I have PTSD because I'll let you go. But we've had 1 or 2 episodes where you finish the whole episode, and the recording is not there. Maybe the SSD wasn't reading properly, or the audio or something. So I'm just paranoid.
Oh, hectic.
But everything's fine.
Oh, nice.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
No worries. Now you're settled.
Now I'm settled. So yes, you were telling me about your dancing career.
Yes, exactly. So I used to be a backup dancer. The first one was like I said, it was Go Hard. We Go Hard. And then I did some music videos for Gaza as well, where I was also a dancer in the videos. And then PDK calls me the one time and they're like, listen, we're doing this music video, but we also want to do like a short film version of it, you know? And so do you want to try this acting thing out? Because I see you're doing a bit of theater as well. So I said yes. And that's when we did the Bam Bam music video.
Okay.
And so we released the visuals before we released like a video. So it's like some snippets of actually the pictures actually of the video. And people thought I got married, you know, and it was in the newspapers. PDK married Shuna. No, Patrick from PDK married Shuna and whatnot. But then afterwards, obviously, we released a music video and then a short film version of it. So I think the short form version of it was sort of like what, catapulted my career because producer or director rather, Florian Schott, who directed Katutura, he saw me in that short film and he asked me to audition for a role in Katutura. So, which I did end up auditioning for. And then I obviously got one of the lead parts. And afterwards, I did soapies, you know, from, what is it called? The Third Wheel to Dreamers. I did some theater plays with the late David Njavera, a play called, Why Has the Name Left Me? I will remember it. So I think that's sort of like how really my creative side of things started. But after I left, you know, the job that I was working for during varsity, I then said, I want to be an entrepreneur. You know, I'm ready now. I've done this 8 to 5 thing. I've done the corporate stuff, or at least, you know, just being an employee. And then I went into solar systems with one of my friends. So we started a solar systems company where we wanted to supply solar panels to businesses and obviously also individuals. That didn't work out. And then at some point, met my now husband and we opened up a restaurant together. And that also didn't work out because of COVID. So now COVID hit hard and we were just struggling. And I never went back into hospitality afterwards because I got traumatized. HR, human resource management is the worst thing that you could ever. It's just the worst in business, you know, managing people. So I think that's one of the reasons why I'll probably never go back into hospitality. But so yeah, and then over time, you know, they always say that once the film bug bites you, or once the acting bug bites you, it's definitely hard to let go of. And you know, slowly then we said, listen, I'm acting in these productions, but how about I create my own production? How about I create my own opportunity? Because I was feeling like I was kind of reaching the ceiling, you know, in terms of, you know, film in Namibia, because also I wanted to do more. I wanted to do bigger. I wanted to, you know, also go out and do, you know, productions within the region or just on the continent. And so we're like, okay, so why don't we create our own product, you know, and by product, you know, why don't we produce our own film? And at that point as well, I had connections with a Nigerian production company.
Okay.
And these are the same people that I hosted Burna Boy with. And
so it was you.
I was part of the team.
Yeah.
And so Play Network, they do events, they do lifestyle, but they also do film. So they had a lot of productions on Netflix that were airing. And so when they were here, you know, they were asking me like, this place is really beautiful. How do we get to shoot a film here?
Really?
You know, and you know, at that time also I was thinking small. I'm like, hey, if you guys ever decide to do a film, you better cast me in that film, okay? Because I'm an actress as well.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, when they left, we continued the conversation, and they were like, no, let's co-produce. And so the production started as co-producing. So we had, you know, crew from Nigeria, but, you know, I was the lead actress, and then we also had crew from South Africa, and obviously talent from South Africa, Ghana, and Nigeria, as well as, you know, Hollywood, which was now Eric Roberts, or Eric Robert, who is Julia Roberts' older brother.
Yeah.
And
And Emma Roberts dead.
Emma Roberts' dad. And so people are like, okay, the younger generation especially don't know him very well, but he's like a Hollywood legend who's done over like 700 films.
700 is crazy.
700 up his sleeve, imagine.
That's a lot, because I know he was in Expendables and quite a few others.
Yes.
So it's like when I saw the face, I was like,
I know this
wow.
guy.
I was like, I know this guy. So wow. And also I think I've watched quite a lot of Emma Roberts films.
Yes.
And also actually, so it was just easy to connect. And I was like, that's why I was like, wow, this is a nice big project.
Yeah.
And I'm also a fan of the South African actors, you know, and the actress.
The Tapelo Mokoena.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he's a beautiful actor.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's
so I'm just like, wow, this is a nice project.
And even Ini in Nigeria, she Ini Dima Okoje, she's very big in Nigeria. She's doing a lot. She's also one of the people who were probably one of the pioneering actors, you know, on Netflix as well in Nigeria. So, so we made sure that it's a strong cast because we wanted to have the film appeal to those audiences, you know, whether it's in the northern parts of Africa or the southern parts of Africa, and, you know, hopefully also the diaspora, you know, that's why we roped in Eric Roberts as well. So that was the whole recipe of the film, and but also because we want to tell authentic African stories that kind of change the narrative about African productions, you know, because Skeleton Coast is about a group of scientists, you know, who came to explore on the Skeleton Coast of Namibia. And you know, they're obviously now sent by this big exploration company to come and find a precious stone that has nuclear properties. And so it's a thriller whodunit. We call it a whodunit because thrillers are normally referred to as, you know, whodunit, like who killed who, because now you don't know if it's, you know, the coastal area that's trying to send an ominous message, or if somebody amongst the scientists is actually like a killer, and also why, what's the agenda. So yeah, and we want to produce content like that because a lot of times I think, you know, African productions or African storytelling is more centered around drama, comedy, you know, but nothing that really like showcases, you know, Africans as smart individuals, you know, like where are the geologists really, you know, in film, you know, where are the scientists in film, you know, where are the doctor conversations in film, or the powerful women in film. So I think that's sort of like one of the visions that I have for Mondjila Studios. Yeah.
That's so cool, because I think what I can definitely resonate to is because me being in marketing, having a marketing agency and everything, one of the visions for our team is I want to, you know, get more international work in, you know, to work with international companies and everything. And so our vision currently is, like, if I have to put it in one sentence, it's just a thing I threw at the team. It's like, okay, our vision is to collaborate with Aston Martin on a production, on a marketing campaign in the Namibian desert, because I'm an Aston Martin fan.
Oh,
right? So that's just the benchmark. So no matter what we do, that's the direction we're going. And
dope.
also why I wanted to have the conversation, because I think it's high time, you know, as you said, people start telling their stories, but also because I think because of the different, I guess, a lot of countries in Africa have been colonized, you know, people speak a lot about that kind of thing. But, you know, this conversation of also people view it as just this place where it's just poverty stricken and all that. And so, and which is not always the case.
Yes,
which is not always
exactly.
the case. You know, I've eaten more food at an Oshvambo gathering than I have at any other place in the world, any other restaurant, any other event. So yeah, that's not always the case. So to be able to really, you know, And that's why I was saying to you, you know, dreams are for free. That's
Yeah.
for sure. One
Yeah.
thing that impresses me is execution. So how did you guys actually manage to make something like this happen? You know, obviously you were collaborating with another company, which probably helped a lot since they've been in the game for. But still, I think each party had to pull their own weight in a sense, because you didn't. To me, I think the cast that you have is
Yeah.
is a very impressive one. You know,
Yes.
it's one of those. If I can think of anything else that might have been great that has been done locally, I'll probably put it. You know, The Gods Must Be Crazy.
Yes, yes,
That's
yes,
one of
it
my
does.
most favorite
Oh, me
film
too. Oh,
productions.
yes.
And so I think in the last few years, I haven't seen any other productions to that extent.
Yeah.
You know, where you have really a team from the US. You've got South Africa. You've got Nigeria. You've got you know, all these different countries.
Yeah.
And also another thing I wanted to mention. I get the feeling that. I'm also pretty curious how it's going on, you know, on the back end of marketing a film like that, because sometimes I feel like if you look at it from a Namibia point of view,
Yeah.
it's not really getting appreciated that much.
No,
Yeah.
it's not.
And I want to know how people are responding to it as well in other countries as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
let's start with how you guys were able to put something like this together and what it took. You know, was it 6 months of planning? Was it 1 year? What was it like? Was it,
Listen.
you know, you get a call on a Friday and on Monday you're
You're
on the job?
put-
Yeah.
No, it was, I think it was also spontaneous in a sense, because, you know, like I said, the Nigerian producers, you know, they were like, no, guys, I mean, like, look, we have this opportunity. I think, like, let's shoot something and then let's have it out beginning of the following year.
Yeah.
And this conversation was like happening in August, you know.
Last year, August.
No.
Oh.
That was not 2023.
Okay.
2023. And so I was just like, okay, because I know that my husband picked up the conversation, you know, or at least, you know, continue the conversations with these Nigerians further. And I remember asking him, like, are you sure? Okay, but like, okay, so what dates are we looking at? How much time do we have for pre-production? And he's like, no, we literally have a month.
A month.
I'm like, a month?
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know if this is going to work because, you know, if I'm going to do something, it needs to be quality, you know. It needs to be Black excellence at that time, you know, that was like my hashtag at that point, you know. And then, so we were like, okay, cool. Let's see how much money we can get. So the film was fully self-funded.
Wow.
Between resources from ourselves, and also just like a lot of loans that we took out, and a lot of, you know, personal loans from, you know, individuals that we knew at that time, because it was so difficult to get funding for the film. I don't know how many sponsorship requests I've sent out, you know, from product placement to, I just don't know, like insurance companies, banks. And because, you know, film hasn't really done that well in Namibia, these sponsors, you know, they end up refusing, you know, to collaborate with us on this. And we shared the vision with them. And, you know, this film was produced to Netflix standards. And we were very intentional about it because, you know, we obviously had a, you know, target off-taker or, you know, target platform. And, but yeah, so I think, you know, we faithed it out and said, listen, let's just give this our best shot. You know, if we're gonna, this is our one opportunity to prove to Africa that Namibia can produce high quality films that can travel, that are commercial, you know, and that can sort of like, you know, bring a return on investment as well. And so that's why we really heavily invested in the film. I mean, we gave up a house, we gave up a plot. This was not like we're
You
going
had to
all
sell a
in.
house and a plot
My guy.
to fund this film.
My guy. So people don't
That's heavy,
understand, like, you know, how this was really like it was a risky business transaction, you know, or investment. And so I'm not one to do something for passion anymore. I'm way past that.
I just want to appreciate that small point that you mentioned there, because I was gauging already in my mind, you know, to get Eric Roberts, to get, you know, the South African guys in, to get also the guys from the Nigeria and whatnot.
Yes.
to get them on a production like this. Then
Yes.
you've also got you. Then you've got the production. Then you've got the travel costs. You've got the accommodation and everything. Then you've got the timeline where you guys are shooting and everything.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, no, this is a pricey production. But the fact that you had to sell a plot and a house and also still go get financing from insurance companies, from friends, from family. It's like you were pushing, eh?
Yeah, no, it was.
Did
was
you guys
a
hear
lot.
that?
I hope you guys caught
Yeah.
that.
Later on, when they're saying, no, we don't have people that are serious about their jobs, about their careers here, we'll talk about you.
And like yes,
Yeah.
and I think also like somebody said to me the one time as well that, I'm sure this is just a project whereby this lady, has probably like a rich husband and she just wanted to do a film. And so he just gave her all the money and just made her, because, Fokkens is dating an actor, And I'm like, no, guys, this was purely a business decision that we made, and we wanted to really see how can we make money from this.
Yeah.
Because I think that a lot of times, as Namibians, we're really stuck on creating passion projects instead of, creating commercial projects. And, we've got the issue of having a small market, and we don't think about, accessing larger markets. And I think that's sort of like something that kind of like, really limits us, in terms of, our capabilities, and also limits the level of risk appetite, within us. So I'm hoping that, people do try and create projects, or at least create like a business model around the projects a bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that covered the first question. The second question was around...
The second question was how people have been responding to it,
Okay.
in other countries as well,
Okay.
Yeah.
So currently the film is in the distribution process. So it's
Okay.
not available on any platform as yet. Locally, One Africa and NBC, obviously they want the film, but because
But
the
the
film
question is, can they afford
No.
the film?
no,
Yeah.
they can't.
Yeah.
So and even like YouTube as well, I think it would be such a miss if we started off that route. And even if we decided to put it in the cinemas here as well, it really would not bring us a return on investment. But we did have a premiere in December, and then
Yeah.
we let the film do a theatrical run in January. And even though it was number one during those 6 weeks that it did air, the numbers were still low because, it's January. So not a lot of people are going to the cinemas at that time.
Okay.
But I think also as creatives, there's this disease of why them and not me. You know what I mean? And I think also just as Black people, we've got that issue of why him and not me, instead of, celebrating and supporting and, making sure that this film either goes viral or whatnot. So people I think some people didn't understand how we were able to create a project of that, quality or whatever. But I think that creatives could be a little bit more positive when, some people, sort of like sell the plot
Yeah.
to create
Yeah.
a film like this,
Yeah.
because it can only open up doors for the others, It can only inspire as well. And also on top of that, I am big on collaboration. I am big on co-producing. So, and I'm open to working with people who've got similar visions. But I think that sometimes also somebody needs to show you that it's possible, right?
Yeah.
And that is sort of like sometimes all you need. So currently internationally, so I can't say how it's doing, but when we did release the trailer, like a lot of Africans were wondering, where do we get this? Like this
Yeah.
is so different from what we're seeing generally on the Netflixes and on most platforms, and it's like an African product, because a lot of Africans haven't seen a Pan-African production in a very, very long time. And a lot of people were referring to it as the first Pan-African film as well.
Okay.
So that was really interesting to hear. Until today, people can't wait for the film. So we are in the distribution process of it, as in, we've got a distributor on board who's trying to sell the film for us to, a platform or a buyer.
Like Netflix.
Yeah, so like a Netflix or like a Prime or Apple TV. All of these are options that distributors normally like look at, and sometimes it can even be a single person or single entity. They say that, listen, sell me the rights to this film. I'm going to figure out how to sell it and where to sell it on.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're also talking to some people like that. But when you get into a distribution agreement, sometimes becomes a little bit limiting because, that leaves you only with your territory in terms of like only the Namibian territory is what you've got rights over. So we can exploit it further in our own territory. But, licensing can limit you in terms of screening or distribution for up to 5 years.
Yeah, this thing of IP, hey?
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's intense. It's a whole different ball game.
Because it's a quite I think, as you say, you were going for something that's a Netflix level production. That's
Hey, and those guys, it's paperwork. Hey.
Yeah.
They've got details to the T. Their requirements are hectic. Even where you do your post-production. So we had to do our post-production in South Africa, not just for the quality and, obviously the experience that they have as South Africans, but also in terms of safety. Because now, if you're saying that you're approaching a platform like Netflix, they can't afford for the film to leak. So even the security infrastructure around your post-production office and those people that house your film until it gets sold to a platform is very important for Netflix. And they have accredited, post-production houses that they consider.
So not just any.
So you can't just say no.
Because nowadays you go 321movies.com.
Listen, Robin, just quickly edit them and in your office for me and save the thing on a hard drive. No,
Exactly.
No.
Just create a link for me, Google Drive.
No, they don't play like that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That has been quite a journey because as you're speaking, I'm also calculating, I'm like, okay, shooting was 2023, we're in 2025. So this has been, the project size has also been like just ongoing. So like it's still ongoing in the sense of, now comes the part where you sell it or whatever it is you're doing, after the whole production and everything. And in a sense also, I think, where, when you mentioned the thing of you're all for collaboration, but someone sometimes just has to do it, I think something like that, I kind of feel in a way also because sadly, when the standard has just been set, or when there is actually no standard set, it's just like everyone is just like, And unfortunately, sometimes when you are the pioneer, you don't get to reap the benefits of really what, So it's and also another thing which I have experienced a lot since we work, with a lot of creatives in general. You get a lot of people that are in this whole like, oh, let me freelance or let me do my own thing and everything. What people don't realize is like when you're tapping into the worldly, when you're tapping into the rest of the world in terms of doing things, there is a standard that needs to be upheld.
True.
People expect excellence. People expect timeliness. People expect. I'm speaking about timelessness here. We took a long time to start the podcast, but people have. And the reason why I say that is because we've had, let's say, employees that we've worked with on the team.
Right.
You're like, oh, no, we're working together team. Someone says, oh, no, what? Let me pursue freelancing.
Yeah.
They go as a freelancer. They don't realize, you need to be on time. Now you actually need to work with a certain level of quality that represents.
Yes.
So in the rounding off back to where I was going with what I was saying to you is like, you pioneering to the world, right? It's like saying to the world, you guys have been used to seeing this come out of Namibia. This is what you're used to seeing.
Yeah.
Now I'm pushing through that, almost creating of what, like a little bit of an extra, right?
Yeah.
But now you representing Namibia in that sense, being the only one, you don't get to reap all those benefits of how should I say? It's like, how do I put it into it? So everyone else is going to reap off of the benefits of your film in a way. So
exactly
what it's going to do for a lot of other actors, actresses. So I find it fascinating when you say things like, you sometimes also haven't received that much support from your peers in the same industry. How people view it, how people might be throwing
Because they see
backlash.
us as competition,
Yeah.
or it's like a thing of like, you know how people say, how dare they?
Yeah.
Who do they think they are? Or they think they can, like,
Come to our land.
like, do you know what I mean? And then also, then they, ask questions like, okay, so how many Nigerian crew did you use? You know, how many South Africans did you use? You know, did you know that, we've got, people who have, similar expertise in this country? But it's very difficult, because how do you work with a team of people that have not done what you're trying to do? Like, do you know what I mean? And a lot of times I think that we're so stuck in our own heads that we think that, because I'm an actor, I'm the best actor, like, do you know that thing of like, I mean, I'm an editor, like, why don't you use me? But I mean, when the vision is so big, it's you can't compromise on your potential.
Yeah.
Like, it needs to be credible, so we need to work with credible people that we know have executed and have worked on projects, that meet our vision.
Yeah.
And it's not to undermine the other creatives or the other experts within the industry. We're not saying that they're not there.
Yeah.
But, I think that a lot of people also don't understand that because it's a personal investment, this is not funding that we got from somewhere.
Yeah.
So we can't afford to F around and find out. Like, you know what I mean? We can't afford to just, okay, let's see how good you are.
You're not working with some youth development fund.
Like, do you know what I mean? This is not, free money that we got. This is money that is on the line. So, unfortunately, we're also gonna then use or work according to our own rules, And if you're gonna have a project, you can definitely work according to your own rules, right? But don't come at me and say that, oh no, because you didn't use Namibian people, of which we did, by the way. More than 60% of our crew was Namibian, for sure. So only
Does that include the production team or more so on the acting side?
No, the acting side, because it was a small cast.
Yeah.
It was a small cast. So the cast members from Namibia, we were 2. Obviously, with the extras being from here.
Yeah.
But other than that, the actors, apart from Tapelo, Cindy, Ini, Mauli, and Eric, there was really nobody else. Oh, and there was also a dummy, and she was like, one of the smaller. She had one of the smaller roles.
Yeah.
But because it was in an intimate setting, we didn't need a lot of actors.
Yeah. I mean, from my side, I can completely understand being in marketing. I was like, it's also a marketing strategy, involving all these other countries, because you're cementing yourself in a way. It's a long-term vision, You're already cementing yourself into these other audiences. And also the sad thing is, like, I think there's this saying that goes, how should I say? I think, or the artist only ever gets appreciated far from his land or something like that. It's like the appreciation you would get from Nigerians, South Africans, I guarantee will be way more than the appreciation you will get from locals, and which is a very sad thing, because at the end of the day, you're doing this for the local community.
Like for the country, because you're putting Namibia on the map, So, for example, when we traveled to Nigeria, we were nominated in 8 categories at the African Viewers' Choice Awards.
Yeah.
And, when we get there, they don't say Shuna is here or, Panache is here.
Exactly.
Or Mondjila Studios is here. They won't mention me, the husband of the company.
Yeah.
They'll say Namibians. Like, do you know what I mean? Oh, the Namibian film. Oh, that's a film from Namibia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it really is representing not just Namibia, but the creative space in Namibia, and showing the rest of Africa what the potential of Namibia is, So definitely, you don't get, the credits on your own. Your country gets the credits. But definitely, I do get treated better if when I'm outside, even just like as a celebrity or as an actor, people really value. They have a celebrity culture, which we don't have here. Let me just say let me just say that. But I have already come for a few people, and I already said, you guys. Fix yourselves. You guys must do better, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, speak highly of myself, but because it's not that we don't know how to. Because I mean, when international actors or celebrities come here, we're on tippy toes. What is your rider?
Yeah.
If I'm going to an event here, nobody asks me for my rider, but the same individual will ask Mini Dlamini or Bonang or whoever for their rider. So it's just one of those things where, it's just a mentality thing that we have as Namibians. We really need to say that, listen, we're going to treat our own people better, even better than, international celebrities that come here. Because once you shift that mindset, it propels it shifts so many other ways of thinking, because you're like, okay, listen, I need to just push myself to work at a higher standard. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and one thing I want to round back on, which I found quite interesting, the fact that I think you were just now speaking about how obviously a lot of people think they are the best at what they do. I think it's just a natural thing, especially I think in a creative environment, you do need to think you're the best in a way, because you kind of have to believe it first. That's the whole kind of thing. That's how it works, no?
Yes.
But what I also see where you're saying, as much as you might think you're the best, you what was it you said? You said as much as you might think you're the best, sometimes
it doesn't meet somebody's requirements or.
Yeah, it was tied when you were just speaking about how can you do something with people that have never done something before, right? And you were saying, so thinking you're the best and everything. Do you think it ties to your background, your childhood, growing up, being very much involved in sports? Because when we do sports, if you think you're the best, sure, but at the end of the day, who scored the most?
Who scored the most?
If you're not Messi, you're not Messi.
Yes.
Whereas in the creative industry, I find that someone will walk like they are Beyonce when they're not Beyonce, or someone will walk like they're Jay-Z when they're not Jay-Z, right? And I find sometimes it's often sometimes even an ego thing.
Yeah.
And ego is bad for business.
That's the thing.
For people to just so like similarly to how you were saying, people will try to find something bad out of something good that should be celebrated. Like, oh, why didn't you use this country? Why didn't you use more people from this and this and that and that? So that's what I wanted to find out from you. Do you think it ties to your background in sports? Because I do a little bit of fighting sports, right, in MMA. There's no way I'm going to go in the gym and go mess around with the best guy in the gym. I know I'm going to get my ass whooped.
Yes, exactly.
So as much as I think, I'm progressing, I'm doing great, in a way I'm like, you still need to trade. Like, there's no way you go and pick a fight with the coach.
Yes,
You just don't do
exactly.
that. So similarly, in a business sense, as much as you might sometimes think you're the best, the fact is, in some cases, you're really not. So how have you, or what's your observation on that, and how have you tried, even though sometimes in some of cases for you where you might not be the best, what is it you do in your case to also, still be able to show up, still be able to maybe get the opportunity, or still be able to just move forward, something you might have to say about that. I don't know, hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say.
I think I do.
Yeah.
I think I do. Look, for me, there's nothing wrong with, believing in yourself and being audacious. And I think you can only really do things when you're audacious. And sometimes you can also only prove yourself when you're put in an environment that you've never been in before.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Because sometimes we also underestimate ourselves. You know what I mean? So that's why I was also saying that I'm not taking away from the people who could have potentially really done well on the job. But because it's my personal investment, I can't everyone and find out. Do you know what I mean?
You need a return on the investment.
I need to know that, listen, like, you've done it before. I don't need to worry about it. We're shooting in an excluded area, or secluded area rather, and there you can't afford to have somebody who says, I forgot the backup battery in Windhoek, and that's a 9-hour drive. Do you know what I mean? The
cost
dynamics
per
are
day.
different. It's per day.
Yeah.
I have a $1 million camera here, which we lost on the first day, by the way.
You lost.
So we had to get a second area into the country, and you're dealing with import taxes, and you're dealing with customs, all of these things. Yeah. Listen, I could write a book about this film and all the challenges that we went through. Yeah. So that's why I say that sometimes, so people get stuck in their ego, and they, instead of understanding the situation and the environment of a certain project, they're kind of like guided by their own ego. But for me, also, I think that, the environment that we live in, the environment that we live in, is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I think that, the environment that we live in is very, very important. And I also it should be sort of like it should be something that pushes you. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm always hard on myself. I'm always like, you know, people will tell me I've done this, I've done that. It's like, oh my gosh, with this person, even in your intro, you know, and I'm just like saying, but I haven't even arrived. I have not arrived. Like, do you know what I mean? And so sometimes when you think that you are the expert, sometimes it takes away the humility that's within you, but also it takes away an opportunity to learn and grow. And I'm a sponge. I love to learn. I love different experiences. I love exposure. And I also love to be corrected as well. Because for me, everything is an opportunity to learn. Like, you know what I mean? And if somebody is inspiring, or if somebody has done something that's out of this world, I wouldn't want to compete with them. I would want to actually learn from them and see, how did you do this? So, and you were very, like, you know, nail on the head when you said that a lot of times we're guided by our own ego, and that in itself becomes limiting, you know? So in terms of my background, how that ties into my background, I think it's a thing of, I think for a long time, I did psychology at school as well, in high school. I mean,
nice.
I mean at university. So sometimes, I'm a very introspective person. So, and what I've realized after introspecting is that because I was the only black child in my class for such a long time, from kindergarten up until grade 4, I think I didn't realize that there was a bit of like racism. But, you know, as a child, you can sense that something is different, you know. First of all, it's the color of my skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also in terms of sort of like how teachers treat you, or how, you know, your peers, parents, you know, treat you. You kind of always want to also prove yourself.
Yeah,
You know, you're
yeah.
forced to want to
In a way.
prove yourself.
Yes.
You're forced to want to excel and do better and prove that you actually belong. You know, that I deserve to be here. So maybe that's sort of like also where some of the ambition comes from, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so, hearing everything that you say, firstly, what I do definitely want to touch on is that ego thing again, because I think who said this? It was, you know, Steve Bartlett, the guy from the Diary of a CEO, which is basically the podcast that the benchmark I set for our
Nice.
podcast. So we'll get there, Steve. But
We're coming.
yeah. So, but he said this one thing where it's like I think it was maybe even a caption on Instagram where he was saying the one of the best things he's done for himself. One of the best things he's done for himself in business, Steve Bartlett, is to not take things personal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And for me, when I look back on it, a lot of the decisions I've made in business where I might have not ended up, you know, not liking what I had done, or maybe, you know, where it ends up going sideways, a lot of the times is tied to, you know, your ego and taking things personal. It can even be a negotiation, or even when you talk about casting as a team, where you could have really taken to heart the fact that, oh yeah, we're not using that many locals. Which you were, of course, but even something like that, someone says a comment, you take it personal, then it affects your whole campaign. You're like,
Yes.
okay, fine, maybe let's just use a bit more
Change.
people from the side. Now you're sitting there with a bunch of people
It
that don't have
sidetracks
as
you,
much
yes.
pull. Now you
Yes.
can't sell so yeah, taking this personal, but just looking at it for what it is, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I wanted to touch on in regards to that. Then also you mentioned this thing about racism. Not necessarily that was your topic, but it's just something I'm also quite curious about once you mention it, because you did say you went to a school where you know, there were a lot of other white kids and you were somewhere, you know, the only black kid there just sitting in there. I have a similar experience, and one of the things from my side is like, I don't know, but I feel like racism will always be there. Sadly.
Yeah, sadly.
But what I've observed over time is you experience it sometimes when you're looking for it. It's like it's there, but it's one of those things where sometimes you also just have to ignore it in a way. I don't know if
Yes.
you feel the same way, because like I could sit there with a white guy talking to me. It's like, yes, yes, this man, this blackie, what. And then in my mind there, I could choose to like say, oh wow, racism, what, go on and get and push that whole story, or it's just be like, this guy, nah, and make a joke out of it. It's like, this guy,
Yes.
who is he thinking he's talking to? So tell me, I mean, from your side, what's your viewpoint on that in general?
Look, I think that there's a lot of things that distract us,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of noise. And also, there's a lot of people that I speak to that I don't like.
Yeah.
But if I decide to, you know, have a personal approach, or just, feel attacked every time somebody does something that I don't like or that I don't agree with, I'm going to miss the lesson. Like, do you know what I mean? So I am also a very extractive person, in the sense that if I'm engaging with somebody and they're saying a whole lot of BS that I probably don't like, I always go back and I'm like, but what did I learn from it?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Or what stood out for me? Because you're gonna approach a lot of BS in life.
Yeah.
You're gonna meet a lot of people as well who gonna make you angry, or they don't, sort of like agree with you, or don't say things that you like or that you necessarily agree with. But I'm always like, what is it that I can take away from this person,
Yeah.
or from this experience, or from this lesson? And I think that kind of like also, it also brings you less depression and less stress. Like, you know what I mean? I don't like drama.
Yeah.
I don't like, I'm a very peaceful person. So I don't also like to entertain things that, will stress me out, or at least I don't allow them, because also it will say a lot about you as a character, as an individual as well, if you're easily swayed by people's comments.
Yeah.
My WhatsApp status has been the same for, I don't know how many years, maybe 10 years now.
So you're one of those.
I'm one of those. I'm one of those.
Yeah.
And the quote on my WhatsApp status says that if you live by the compliments of people, you will die by their insults. Like, do you know what I mean? So you have to choose one. So if you're gonna always be affected by people's opinion of you, you're not gonna go anywhere. So
I really like that.
yeah. So I guess that's how I approach that. But for me, there's always an opportunity to learn from somebody, even if you don't like them. Yeah.
That's a nice one. If you live by the compliments of people, you will die by their insults.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. I like it. But I want to rewind a little bit back. You've told me a couple of things now while we're sitting here, and I'm also learning as we're going. But I want to go back into building Mondjila Studios together with your husband.
Yeah.
Working together as a
Yes.
couple.
Yes.
You guys were in the restaurant business together as
Yeah.
well. I sense a lot of togetherness here.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I know, when you're working with someone and living with them, it's not always the nicest experience.
Yeah.
A lot of fights can come in there. Or maybe in your case it's different. Maybe you guys work so great to the point where you don't even argue. But I know some tension rises. I mean,
Yeah.
it's business, working with family and everything. So I want to know, tell me of a challenging point for you guys in business, having the restaurant. You said, when the time when you were in the restaurant business, and then COVID hit. COVID,
COVID was a mess.
Yeah,
COVID was a mess.
And it killed a lot of businesses, a lot of families, a lot of struggles that came with it, but also a lot of lessons. And even I can imagine the same thing with Mondjila Studios. You guys have had your fair share of challenges. So I want to know, tell me of a difficult time for you guys. It could have even been, I don't know, times where you thought this thing is never going to work. This thing, I think at this point we must even just go move back to the families in the village. I don't know how it has been for you guys, but tell me a little bit more about that.
There was definitely a challenging moment. I mean, when we started off the restaurant, when we opened the doors, I was 7 months pregnant. And this was my first pregnancy. And it's December now, so it's definitely at the same time that we opened up the restaurant as well. It was December.
Which restaurant was it?
The Confab.
Okay.
Yeah, the Confab. It used to be situated that side of the Angolan embassy in Osmanplatz. And so it was more like a bistro type setup, and then we extended the evening hours to make it more of a restaurant.
Yeah.
But it was challenging in the sense that I was literally giving birth to two babies at the same time. One is the actual child, and the other one is the restaurant. And the other thing is that I'm stepping into an environment that I'm unfamiliar with. So my mother and I used to do a lot of catering together, and that was one of the ways she used to sustain herself. So I'm a foodie. I love cooking. So we said maybe like a restaurant would actually be like a good opportunity to actually see how far we can push this food business. But so it was just that thing of you have to now navigate between being a mother and a business person and a wife and your husband's business partner at the same time. And also him being a man as well, it was very difficult for him to understand what women go through when they are, when they've just given birth to a child, because there's a lot of hormonal changes that happen, and obviously stress can also contribute to postpartum depression. And so I think one of the challenges that we had was just separating, what I was going through as an individual, and perhaps where I would drop the ball at work, or why I would drop the ball at work sometimes. So he didn't
just
really
random outbursts.
Yeah, or maybe you're just not as efficient as you were before. You know what I mean? Because now you're navigating this motherhood thing, and you're navigating hormones, and you're navigating this child that needs you equally as the business kind of like needs you. And I remember that 2 weeks after I gave birth, I was already like on the rooftop setting up for our New Year's party. So you literally don't have like time to breathe, And so like I think that, men as they are, they don't really fully appreciate what women go through. So I think that that's sort of like one of the biggest clashes that we had, because I felt like he didn't understand me and what I was going through. I also didn't understand what I was going through. This is all new territory for me. But overall, I think that we've tried our best to separate work from business. So and as I was telling you earlier on, that I'm a person who likes to learn. So I don't mind being corrected as well. So it makes it easier when you are able to kind of like also bow down, or put your emotions aside and let the person actually make their point, which might be something that you're able to learn from. So I think maybe that also made him. It made it easier for him to also be like guidance or voice of reason, or even just give you business advice, for example, because he's done business for a longer time than I have. So who am I to tell him that, like, listen, you don't know what you're talking about. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. He's speaking from experience. You're speaking from emotions. There's a difference, So I think that's sort of like what makes it easier for us to start new projects, because at some point as well, we opened up a hair salon, and then we had a little bar called the Rabbit Hole. So we've tried quite a lot of businesses together. And I think that a lot of times, I think it's probably more external forces, that would make the business not work, as opposed to us not, kind of like meeting eye to eye in terms of business. So Mondjila as well was strategic in the sense that, yes, I'm an actress, and he's a project manager as well. A producer is basically a project manager, and he's always been interested in the creative space as well, as much as an engineer / project manager. So I think for him, I think he kind of also used me to kind of explore his little creative interests, So
then
so
one day it was like, you know what, we can actually make a living out of this thing.
Yes. Yeah. But it is dangerous as well at the same time, because you can take work home a lot of the times, which we did a lot as well. So you find yourself, it's midnight, you guys are both in bed, and instead of getting closer, you guys are talking work. You're like, you know what I mean? So I think for us, it was also difficult to differentiate between the two and be like, okay, look, like we are lovers before we are business partners. So over time, you kind of like become more business partners over time, and you have to find a way to kind of like take you guys back to being married or married couple. So it's always an interesting time. It's always an interesting time.
Yeah, that's interesting for me to hear the way you like, you end up laying there in bed while talking about business when you could be using that time for intimacy, right?
Yeah.
And so it made me think about one friend of mine. He lives in Germany. His name is Olaf Spitter. He's a filmmaker. Well, to me, he's one of the best filmmakers I've ever met, right? And he's also one of the people that has really kind of opened up my eyes to what sort of a vision do I want to have for our company and everything. He comes here quite a lot. He grew up here, and so he still comes here, tries to come here every single year, And so one of the things he said to me a while back, first of all, between him and I, right, we have a lot of conversation. So for me, I want to be a producer at some point. He's actually the one that was like, Ignatious, I think you'd make a very good producer, the way you speak about business and everything,
Yes.
because I did a lot of sales, because I have to sell a lot. So we have this thing where it's like, I want to become a producer, but then I say to him, I want to make $250 million first, because it's an expensive thing to do.
Oh, yes.
And I will be the producer. He'll be making the films.
Yes.
He'll be the director.
Oh, yes. So you'll be executive
Yeah.
producer.
I guess so. And so we've got this whole little plan for our life. But one thing he said to me, because when he's here, we work a lot together. We'll sit in the office, and then we just work. And he says to me, while we were in the gym, doing a gym session together, because I think he likes the fact that I motivate him a lot. I get him to go to the gym and everything. So for him, when he's around me, it's very easy for him to do certain things. Whereas when I'm around him as well, it's very easy also to tap into my creative side and all that. And you're saying, and I'd say to him, you know what, I think, let's do something nice, so we can do something, round up a group of friends, maybe have a little sundowner, try something, or go on a trip together, brother. What do you think? And it's like, I actually quite like working with you. Because there are very few things the two of us can really connect on, except business. So it allows us to build our relationship and really grow as friends. Business. So then now I started this thing where every time we're together, we're always saying business. So that's why I wanted to just touch on that, because in a way, obviously, you mentioned the whole intimacy side of the things, but also there's the side where you guys talk a lot about business. Do you think the business side of things has allowed you guys to also grow closer? Because for me and my friend, it has done that for us. So there's no other person in the world, or very few people that I can imagine tackling the world with. When we are together, we feel like we can conquer the world. Like anything to us is just possible. And so I don't know from your side as well.
Yeah. Before I answer that, is the AC working?
I don't. Dini, is the AC working?
I think it's hot. Is it? Oh, it's off.
Yeah, it's off right now.
It's okay. No, I have a coat on as well, because.
Yeah. Outfit comes first.
No, outfit comes first, man. Have a look.
Yeah. She came here, with the whole Matrix vibe in the mind. So you were telling me.
Yeah, no. So it definitely makes you also learn a lot about yourself. You know what I mean? Because sometimes when you do what is kind of like respond and react and whatnot, you're like, okay, let me not make this personal. It's work.
Yeah.
Okay, let me answer in a professional way, And I think like it really grows you as an individual and also as a couple. And then sometimes, because you learn how to respond about things in a professional way, it allows you to remove the emotions, right? And so it helps you with removing emotions as well when you're having an argument. And so when you're having an argument, let's say like about the kids or whatever, you remove the emotions and you stick to the facts.
Yeah.
Right? When you did this and that and that and that, this is how it made me feel. Please do not do this. This is what I appreciate. This is what I would like. You know what I mean? Instead of like saying, you don't care for me, you don't like, no. No, I'm sure you care for me, but I feel like you don't care for me because of X, Y, and Z. So I think that if you decide to do that with your partner, I think you also have to know your partner. Yeah. I mean, there are some relationships that are dynamic where where some husbands are like, I could never start a business with my wife. We would kill each other, because I know who she is, And I don't think that it's for everybody as well. I think that it's for certain couples who understand how to also remove emotions, from things that are, work related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned those things. One thing I do have to put out there, I was thinking about it while you were speaking, is like, well, to be fair, also, me and my friend, we are friends. You guys are
Yes.
in a relationship, there still needs to be time to make babies and everything. So I'm like, so yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
that's a different situation. But I do appreciate how, because when you say now, you being able to do business with your partner, it also allows you to look at arguments in a different way. I like that. It's an observation of mine as well, because I see it sometimes also, even when I have arguments with people, or where I'm in a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
I have this thing where sometimes we'll be in the conversation, we'll be in the now, and then emotions get heavy and everything. But I've had sometimes partners where they're like, I always do this thing where I'll be sitting even like at 2 a.m. in the evening, and then I'll just call and be like, yeah, I just really thought about what we discussed. Where she might be just there, like, oh, the argument is over. No, he's
Yes,
this,
yes.
this done and dusted. And then I'll just call randomly and be like, yeah, I really thought about it from your point of view. And I think what I did was wrong. Or
Yes.
I'd like to really appreciate your side, even though I feel maybe you could have apologized here and there, but I can also see how it might have
Right.
affected you. And then they'll be
Right.
like, now they want to be upset, but then they're like,
They can't
okay, I
even
also
cut
see how
that.
it affects you.
No, after that,
Yeah.
you can't. You
Yeah.
can't.
So I like that what you mentioned there, connecting it to business. But yeah, we know you've also mentioned that you are a mother, and you mentioned how when you opened the restaurant, you were 7 months pregnant, um, and so now kids come in as well. And I am very curious about this point, because my brother was asking me the other day. I was like, oh yeah, Ignatius, if you're making X amount of money and you have kids and blah blah blah, would you be okay with having kids? And then I mentioned an outrageous amount of money. I was like, no, I don't think I want to have kids when before I'm making this much.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, yo, you want to buy the whole country for the kids or what?
Yes.
And I was like, no. And then I just randomly said, imagine if it's this difficult to start a business while you're single. How about when you have kids and now
Yeah.
you have little humans to feed? So I want to hear from your side how it has been. First of all, I think at any point having kids is a blessing. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
I think there's never a point where it is a bad thing to have kids. No matter the circumstance, I think they're still a blessing into the world, right?
Yeah.
So once they're there, they're there. No going back.
Yes.
But from you being a mother, and the woman tribe, everything that you have has been kind of circulated around that.
Yes.
Where it's
And that's where it started as well.
yeah, where your experience in business, being a mother, what has it been like? How has it changed your viewpoint in life? Because there's a part where, especially now, when you mentioned something about you guys having to sell a plot and a house because you were investing into this Mondjila Studios kind of thing, I think a little bit of you is always going to be like, what about our kids? This new risk in business we're taking. Fortunately, I can imagine, obviously, maybe you still might have another source of income that can allow you to sustain yourself. But I think it's always going to be there. We're like, this risk I'm taking, how does it affect the rest of the family? You together with your husband, how is it going to be like for our kids? What sort of life are we shaping for them? And also, how do we want them to view us? Because you can sit there and be like, no, I'm taking this opportunity, or I wanted this opportunity, but let me not take the risk because I have kids. And I think in a way also you might be like, do I really want my kids to see us not taking risks as parents? How does it affect the way they view us? How does it affect the way they're gonna view the world? So yeah,
Right.
tell me a little bit about that. Being a mother, being in business, also having a whole family basically.
Yeah. Well. First of all, I'm a hero speaking, right?
Yeah.
And the heroes believe that, listen, you can be as poor as how, but you will always find food for that child to eat, even if it's just white porridge and salt.
Yeah.
Like, you will still figure out a way to feed this child that you bring on earth, right? And so a lot of times, we always wait for the right amount of money to make to make children, as you're saying now.
Yeah.
But also what I realized with people who do have children, even when they're just starting off, is that it actually pushes you more. Like, you know what I mean? It makes you like kind of like more hungry, because now you're thinking about, UNAM fees, or
Yeah.
or St. George's fees or St.
Yeah.
Paul's fees or whatever school fees, you know what I mean? And you know that, listen, I only have 6 years, to figure out how I'm going to make that income,
Yeah.
because grade 1 is coming, So I think that, those first 5 years, you can really, there's a lot that you can do in those 5 years after having a child.
Yeah.
So I think that it's something that motivated us quite a lot, to push harder. There was a point where really, like, we really lost it all, because he started off as an engineer. And just before COVID, his construction company took a big hit, because the construction industry was really hitting a loss at the time. And so he had to also pack up and close his construction business just, I think, a year before we started the restaurant. And so when we started the restaurant, we really started with the little bit of savings that we had, and it was now up to us to make it work. I think that also, pushed us and motivated us a lot, because now we're like, we literally almost lost everything. We now have a new child in the picture. So you don't have any other option but to push. You know what I mean? So I think kids are a motivation, if anything. They're motivation for you to put, not only to work harder, but to also, work on yourself and be, more responsible, and really figure out what it is that you want to do in life, because and also how do you want to respond to situations in life, because these are the things that you pass on to your children, right? So the risk element of things, I think you almost like want to take bigger risk, because the risk of this child, not having enough money for school is probably even higher, so you're kind of like using that to push yourself.
Yeah, that's interesting. So when you say you almost want to take a bigger risk, is that coming from the when you face challenges in life, when you say now the restaurant business took a hit, his construction business took a hit, are you saying then, in a sense, that you kind of have now almost this responsibility to dream bigger in a way?
Yes, absolutely. It can go either or. Either way, because now you can decide to get a safety net, as in get an 8 to 5, right? And be like, this is less risky, at least I know every month there's a salary coming in, I can, But now the problem is that you're dealing with two individuals. One, my husband, he's got a big appetite for risk. I always have to be like, dude, like, you need to chill out, man. Like, calm down. Like,
we have kids.
I even tell him that I have kids. Because I think sometimes he forgets that he has kids. You know what I mean? And then you've got me, who is, it's very difficult to box creatives. Especially, box them in an 8 to 5. It's the worst thing that you can do to a creative. They will tell you that, because we don't really like structure. We're spontaneous people, because, our ideas flow, and we're fluid and all of those things. So now you've got two people who don't like an 8 to 5 and who are very ambitious. The other one has got a big risk appetite. The other one can be like, listen, anything, I'm game. I'm also Sagittarius at the time, so I'm very adventurous. So I'm always open to new opportunities and trying out new things. So I think the risk element, it's a tricky one. It just depends on what pushes you and what kind of personality you really are. Because some people they just don't have the risk appetite and they prefer a safety net. Others are like, listen, I'm at a 0 now, so let me I'm at the bottom, but the only way is up. I can't go deeper than this. Like, do you know what I mean? If I'm already at a low, the only way is up, So that being at a low like that, I think also pushes you to want to do more. So we've experienced really, really losing it all, and also, having a really, really good income as well at some point. So once you taste the money, you're like, okay, how can I how can I go back there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got money, lost some of it, but now I want to go back there. Like, you know what I mean? Or I never want to suffer like this again.
Yeah, I think I can definitely agree to that also, and how from my side I want to grow my appetite for risk,
Yeah.
and which ties back again to this whole thing where we were speaking of, where you were saying how it's very easy for when the smaller a community is, the easier it is for us to compete against each other in a way, to like always see each other as competition. So this thing you were saying, how after having your project happen and everything, when you've done it, you're like, okay, no, cool, I've done something great. I really think people are gonna be, are really gonna support this. And
Yeah.
people are gonna love this. And then all of a sudden, how come you only use 2 actors from Namibia?
Yes.
This is,
Yes.
and I realized like, I want to grow my appetite for risk, and my dreams, I want them to be bigger because firstly, the first part is I do this thing, we're even going to have this exercise with the team tomorrow where I sit, that I'm studying something new, where I just sit with them and then just ask, what is your vision for your life? Like, where do you want to go?
Right.
Well, how do you see yourself growing within the company? How much do you want to make? It's like, there's no judgment here. But because of that, I can't afford to dream small because now I have all these other people's dreams.
Carrying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the only thing I can do, I need to dream so big so that all these other people's dreams can fit within my dream, right? Because having these people on the team is a responsibility. It might not be now, but like, what are we doing to grow towards that, right? And then the second thing that I realize is that I think everyone knows this one. Competition only exists at the bottom.
Yes, yes.
So it's like, because the community for a lot of opportunities in our country, it's like, it's so small. It's very easy, for people to want to work against each other, where people might think, because this person is winning, that means I'm losing. But no, it can happen that you win together. And one of the things for me in that I have observed for myself is that, why not look outside just the country? Why can we not, open doors also outside the country? And a lot of the times, with the interesting things about doors is that, sometimes we are waiting for people to open the door for us, and sometimes it's and when in a lot of cases the door is already unlocked, you just need to open it.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly. So in a way, that's how I view you, and why I was so excited for this conversation. It's like, sometimes the door is there.
Yes.
Just open it, just slide it,
slide
and just look, put a step inside. So yeah, I want to touch now on other topics as well, because there's a lot, as we said with my intro. You also just recently got appointed as the 51-member task force for the president.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Ooh, I think that is, I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean?
Because you're responsible for our lives now. Eh?
Like, do you get?
Yeah.
It's because even when they called me, I was like, are you sure you're looking for me? Like, maybe you might have, called the wrong number.
Maybe you were looking for an SHUNA, not
like
TJU.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then at some point I was like, okay, so maybe it makes sense, So even when I was updating my CV that afternoon, because now they ask for a CV.
Yeah.
And when
there's been years since you needed
when you
a CV.
but also when you're sending a CV to the State House.
Yeah.
You can't just send a regular CV that's,
Yeah.
Now you must motivate, skills. What I've got this at this job. I was
My
what
internship here.
like, do you know what I mean? Like I can do it, But at the same time, I was really doubting myself because I was like, am I ready for this? And also, with having had so much backlash as well from the creatives themselves, was also like, do I want to represent these people who have been so ungrateful to some extent? And I'm not saying everybody, please guys, hear me. I'm not coming for you guys like that.
Just some.
But just some, and you know who you are. But it was really like it was like, okay, so what am I going to do and how am I going to do it? Who do I need to engage? Which stakeholders do I need to bring together? Because already the industry is so fragmented, So the task at hand is even bigger than, most people actually think.
Yeah.
And also to find, yes, please go for it.
No, I was just going to say, and I think people also need to understand this is also on a voluntary basis, if I'm not mistaken.
It's on a voluntary basis. You're not getting paid for it, And now you're here, you need to create a cohesive strategy that speaks for everybody under CCI, and you need to make that, with a heart that is also not selfish, because you can't present recommendations that will only benefit you, you know what I mean? So you need to really have an overall understanding of the entire industry, and most importantly, their needs, right? And also make realistic and practical recommendations. Yes, while I am a person who looks at any project that I do in a commercial way, not everybody kind of like looks at it, that way. Some people, just want sustainability. They just want like a small job that pays them something every month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm a big thinker. So you also kind of like have to, tone down in a sense, you know what I mean? To be more inclusive of everyone's.
Not everyone is like us that like Range Rovers, G-Wagons.
like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But also, like, everybody's at a different hierarchy, in terms of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Some people are really at the security level, and some people are like, listen, I need to do big things, and also I need to, now start investing in my community, for example. So I think the entire role was also like one of the reasons why I was doubting myself is because I knew that people would ask questions like, so why her?
Why her? Yeah.
How did she get there? Who did she talk to? I remember in one of our groups, because I'm also the vice chairperson of the Filmmakers Association.
Yeah.
And in one of our members' group, somebody asked so did you have to audition for it? Like, as in, like, when were the interviews held? I'm like, no.
It's not that kind of job.
Listen, it's not that kind of a job. This is like a call to service, like, basically to serve your country.
Yeah.
A call to serve, yes. So it's interesting, but I think that I'm taking it as an opportunity to learn from the people that are in that room, because there are some really great minds and business heads and private sector leaders within that group, and who have got so much knowledge. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's really like, I mean, it's uncomfortable to stand in that room, because you're like, man, like, am I the smallest person in here? But I think also if you go in with that mindset, and with that mindset of doubt, you're going to limit your potential as well to contribute to conversations, right? Because I think Barack Obama one day said that, we've been looking at these, at politicians, at leaders, at ministers, like before now he was a president, he used to look at them like, oh my gosh, these guys are really big people, like, like intimidating people, And then at some point when he became a president, he realized that, but these are all just normal people. Like, you know what I mean?
We
These
eat
are
the
all
same meal,
we eat
we
the same
go to the same
meal.
price.
Listen, we all use the toilet. You know what I mean? So I think that, just thinking about, Barack Obama's comment on that, when he became president, it kind of like also stuck with me, to not undermine my place in any room that I enter, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. You know what I mean? Yes, some people do have accolades, and they and they have the credibility, and they've really worked a lot to be where they are, But at the end of the day, you're all human beings, and there's so much to learn from each other. So it just depends on what kind of attitude you enter the room in, because also when you're at the top, people that are at the top are always willing to learn from others. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that now that you've reached the top, you stop learning, So also at the same time, maybe it's an opportunity for somebody to learn from me. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's actually very interesting that you say that people at the top are always looking to learn, right? And I always look back on the conversations I've had also with a couple of Mogus here in Namibia. It's like we'll sit and have a conversation, right? And I think, I'm the one asking questions. So we start 15 minutes in. So Ignatious, tell me about your career. So how do you do this and that? Okay. So if I wanted to get into this and all of a sudden I'm the one answering.
You're the expert now.
Like, but did I not come here to learn from you? So, and I think also it just ties down to that whole thing of just curiosity in general. And similarly, I've observed also even let's say you go to a lodge or something and you travel, that whole thing of curiosity in general, it's like I find that when you go travel, you do something, you've got the people. Obviously, I can't put it against people, because when you're traveling, I think it's a point of relaxation. But you get the people sometimes that are just like, you know what? Let me lay in my room. This is it. End of story. And then you get some people, you get there 1 hour in. What's next? What can we do? Game
Yes.
drive. Oh, there's
Oh, yes,
e-bikes. Oh,
yes,
what?
yes.
There's a mountain over
Sundowner.
there. Sundowner, right? And I think it's just curiosity in general that really is needed in growing yourself, learning whatever it is. Curiosity plays such a big role. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but now you being in this this whole task force for the president, I'm guessing it also kind of somewhat gives you direct access to the president in a sense. Like I would hope so.
Well, I don't have a number.
Yeah, but I think if you were to call a meeting, there's a possibility it's gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was thinking along the lines of, And so being on this task force, because I was reading exactly what it means for you to be doing a role like that, and the caption that was posted said that it gives you this task force is responsible for pushing the national agenda for the citizens of Namibia. So whether it be bringing in more foreign investment through creative industries, whatever it is. So I want to touch on that whole thing of pushing the national agenda for the citizens.
So there are three task force groups under the presidential task force, and those groups, one is for housing, the other one is for health, and one is for economic recovery. So I'm serving under the economic recovery group, and so obviously our duty, apart from creating strategies to develop the country, but also to make sure that the goals of the president are implemented, and these goals are the national development goals, which are under NDP 6, as well as some of the recommendations that were made from the public-private forum that recently happened in October. Because private sector and public sector came and they they made presentations in front of the presidents to give them more of an insight into every industry's needs, and challenges, and where the bottlenecks are, and all of that stuff. So from there was a summary report that was then concluded and presented to the president, and so these recommendations, as well as the NDP goals, as well as the SWAPO implementation plan. So there are all these sort of like goals that we need to work towards. But now it's a question of how do we get there, So now that's also why they brought in private sector to also bring in their business approaches as well, as to how to make this country more sustainable and what actually brings investment into the country, but also which approaches can create, these 500,000 jobs that the president is looking for. So my role mainly is to create a strategy that will employ more people within the creative sector and create a sustainability model within the creative sector, but also to figure out what are the funding gaps and what funding models would work within the creative sector, you know what I mean? And also, what is the end goal? So, for example, in the next 5 years, how do we want? What kind of a shift do we want to see within the creative sector, apart from just the employment? And for me personally, because I'm big on accessing, outside markets, I am personally big on creating export opportunities for our local products, whether it's a film product or whether it's art, whether it's artifacts or whether it's fashion. For me, I'm big in terms of creating those partnerships as well with other countries, that can have or they have the potential to be off-takers of our products and our services. We live in a digital age as well, so for me as well, I'm big on capacity building and skills development that will enable us to explore more opportunities on a digital basically in the digital market. So, for example, if we're saying that we can't necessarily produce like a lot of foams right now because maybe budgets are limited, and we're still waiting for investment. I'm big on encouraging creatives to be more multifaceted. You know, people say that, oh no, jack of all trade but a master of none. No. This is the time to be a jack of all trade.
Yeah.
This is the time to be multifaceted.
Yeah.
Because people are constantly looking for different things out there, and so if you can, you know, develop your skills to such a point where you can even do services in the comfort of your home to somebody who's sitting in Egypt or South Africa or, I don't know, London. Like, why not? Do you know what I mean? So I think that is sort of like, you know, my viewpoint and kind of like a bit of my approach on what some of those strategies might look like. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting to hear. I think that's very exciting as well, because we really need to equip our locals in terms of you know, understanding what sort of doors the digital space opens up. You know.
Yes, and to make Namibia more competitive, because you have to be competitive not for Namibia but for the global audience or the global market.
Yeah, definitely. And a funny example I always give to people is, I think the BBC channel they recently did a rebranding or something like that, and they spent I think $5 million on
Did
their logo.
On the logo.
On the logo.
Wait, I thought on the rebranding strategy.
on the logo. So I always just say, I know at least 10 designers locally that can do better than
and
that
somebody
logo.
coined in big.
And that logo is just changed from blue to black. And I'm like, come on. You know, I know a couple of people that can really do so. But that, right, and I even had another guy from Sweden on the podcast. His name was Alex Morad. I think a lot of us saw if you're active on socials, because there was a time when this Swedish guy was just speaking about AI, and it was popping around on social media. He did a tour here in Africa and also came to Namibia. And he was big on that whole AI, you know, offering services to other countries thing. I had him on the podcast. He was really on the same agenda. And I think definitely that does open a lot of doors. Also, I think, do you know the full saying of jack of all trades?
Jack of all trades, master of none. It's something that comes afterwards.
But often better than a master of one.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
So we need, we all need to be
guys.
Jack of all trades.
So I'm well within the.
So cause if you're not improving, then you're, I don't know what else. But if you're not improving, you're not growing. You know, it's like, and so. Technically, you are a marketer as well. You know, you understand brand building. You've got a very good social media following, building also relationships with other countries, international stars. So me being a marketer and being in the marketing space, I think I also do have a curiosity, because business I keep saying marketer, but really for me it's business.
Yeah.
The interest is business.
Yeah.
But part of business is brand building, it's marketing, digital presence. So what is it? How did you build your online brand? And you know, how are you building these relationships with other countries? You know, because today it starts with the film. 10 years from now, who knows what it could be, you know? It's like, I mean, even with the women tribe, I think when you brought Connie Ferguson to Namibia, that was a pretty big thing, you know? It's a pretty big deal. It's sizable projects. It's fostering those relationships. And I think also that's probably one of the reasons you're on that task force, you know? Yeah. And, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. You're not as loud about it as some people might be with the things they do. But I think, from my side, I'm very curious how that is. Because even for my podcast right now, right? One of the things we are tapping into, trying to get international guests. Okay, can we bring someone like Tabang Malang? Can he come on our podcast? Who can we bring from the USA? Okay, whenever you know there's an event where they bring, I don't know, these guys like what's his name? This Amapiano stars. I forgot.
I won't be. I'm the wrong person to help you.
Yeah,
I'm not a
yeah.
big fan of
I-
Amapiano.
Also, it's not also looking good for me if I don't remember the names of the people I want to bring on the podcast. But you know, quite a few
Yeah.
guys that have made a business out of African music like that. So when
Yes.
they're in Namibia, or let's say you bring Burna Boy, how can we pitch in to try and get Burna Boy on a podcast? You know, things like that, because you want that international collaboration. And from a business point of view, that's the kind of stuff that allows us to make money out of our podcast on an international platform. If we've got Burna Boy sitting right in front of here on a podcast episode, what's to stop us from discussing a deal with Nike? Hey, Nike, can we have some brand deals, like things like that, right? It opens all these other doors.
Right.
But if we all keep it at like, yeah, can I go do a campaign for my Black Label or Reed Fontaine juice? They're also big local brands, but it's like, at the end of the day, all the marketing agencies, all the content creators, all the personalities online are also trying to get a relationship with that same brand. So at the end of the day, why are you disappointed when it didn't really work out, you know? Whereas when you open these kind of doors with international collaborations, then you open a completely new market, you know, and completely different platform that people can now be like, okay, no, let's get involved in that. So what was my question now?
Your question was around
I
the
suppose so.
branding. My personal branding,
yes,
and
brand building, marketing, from your side, because you do have a neck for that a little bit. You do need it for the kind of stuff you're doing, right? So how have you built your online presence? What have you observed? What have you learned from building your online presence, from marketing in film? Because it's not like marketing coffee, you know. You like coffee? Okay, yes, coffee. You like sandwiches? Here's a sandwich. You're hungry. Eat, please.
Yes.
Whereas film is like more a thing of like, you really have to tap into people's psychology in a way. You know, you need to give people a reason to care, a reason to actually like what it is you're doing. So some things you've learned in that space, doing marketing, doing brand building, you know.
I think that I've tried to always be in touch with what do people want, what do people want to watch, what do people want to consume, and where are sort of like people's frustrations as well at the same time, right? So even when I build or when I started my platform, you know, which was Mothers in Business, that now, you know, is the Woman Tribe, it was based off of, you know, what I hear from the audience and what their needs are. So, and also that kind of like helps you be aligned with your audience, and then helps you find, you know, the authenticity, you know, within the alignment as well. So I think that, you know, authenticity is something that always, you know, is probably one of my biggest strategies, I guess, around my, you know, brand, my personal brand, is being authentic, is being relatable, but also being current, you know what I mean? And you know, being relatable is obviously, yes, it also is being current. But I think I've never been super intentional about my personal brand as much as I've been about the things that I care for, you know, like film and like, you know, community, or women. You know, with my own personal brand, I think it's just been, you know, like organic. You know, this is me at this point in time. I'm a mother, or, you know, I'm an aspiring actor, or I'm a business person. So I always post my experiences, and I've never sort of like, you know, put this facade on Facebook or Instagram. I've never really, you know, sold myself to be somebody that I'm not. So I allow myself to just, you know, share my experiences and let my brand grow organically, because I also hope that, you know, my audience like me for who I am and what I do, and not because of what I look like, or, you know, what I'm selling, you know. So so I think that, you know, in terms of the personal branding, I've allowed that to be organic. In terms of, you know, the business side of it, I've always looked for, you know, the needs of the audiences, and let that sort of like be the guidance. But somebody recently told me that I really need to do more PR with my personal brand
Yeah.
and share my own, personal experiences, which is also one of the reasons why I agreed to do this podcast.
Yeah.
And let people sort of like know a little bit more about, who Shuna is.
Yeah.
Because we see a lot of cute pictures on Instagram,
Yeah.
but we've never heard you speak. We've never really
Mm.
interacted with you as much, and people love interaction. People love authenticity.
Yeah.
People love to know that you're also going through it. So yeah.
Yeah, the internet is coming for us all these days. People these days, when people buy products, they want to know what's the name of your dog before they buy from you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So what do you use on your face? Yeah. So where do you buy your underwears from?
Exactly. So all this stuff. And so what have you been doing besides the podcast? Is there like something you've already started putting in place? I think for yourself to get more out there, or is it like really new territory to you as well?
In terms of PR or branding?
In terms.
I don't even have like a brand strategist or like a social media manager.
I think I know someone on one team. Yeah.
So I don't have any of that. And I think that the only thing that I've really tried to do more proactively is update my LinkedIn and be more present there, and also see what people are doing there. And also show my work more, in terms of what I'm doing for the association and with the film commission, and obviously, now with the task force as well. So I'm trying to definitely voice my opinion, and also, give a bit of an insight of what my thinking is like to people. So I think that that's probably the only thing that I'm really proactively doing in terms of my brand. But also, I think one of the things that I've really tried to do well is that I've always been true to who I am, because, people will be like, oh, we thought that you were just like another cute face. We thought that you were, but like, there are people who have followed me since I started my Instagram account, and they've seen me evolve and grow, become a mother, and get all these other positions. And I think like that's the beauty of life, that somebody can actually go on a journey with you, and be inspired by your journey because they were there from the beginning. You know what I mean? But also, it's very important to stay out of the messy parts. You know what I mean? Don't get involved in drama. Stay in your lane, mind your business, drink your water. That's also like very important. So I've also been very intentional about, what my reputation is, because your reputation is always like aligned to, it's always aligned to your brand, you know. So it's very important to have a clean reputation at the same time. I mean, we all go through lows, we all make mistakes, yes. But, a bad reputation should never precede you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I think, firstly, actually, that's one of the things we've been wanting to tap into in terms of speaking to the teams. Like, we want to do more, assess more public figures with brand building. Because the reason I say that is because if you look at, let's take the US market or the European market. So there's the side of making content, right? When you're marketing yourself or vlogs, that's the kind of stuff that people do. But aside from just the content and the social media side of it, there's also the distribution part. So when I say distribution, it's things like, I don't know if you know Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, or who can I ask? Or who's like a marketer or someone that you look up to, or whose brand you respect in terms of digital presence and everything?
I think somebody. Well, he's not a market. Well, yeah, you could say he's a marketer. What, like a Vusi?
Vusi Tembekwa is a great example. Perfect.
Yeah.
So what people don't realize about Vusi Tembekwa's brand is like he's everywhere.
Yes.
He's everywhere. It's
Yes.
like if you are in Africa and you haven't seen Vusi, it's only counting down the days.
Yes.
We're just counting down the days.
Yes.
But what people don't realize a lot of the times with Vusi, obviously he's got the whole career that he's built, but the main thing is distribution.
Oh, yes.
So I can
Visibility.
visibility. So I can guarantee for sure right now, I can go to Vusi's team, and I know for a fact they're posting more than 100 times a week. There's this when it comes to building in terms of content, in terms of marketing yourself, promoting yourself. There's the part where you're like, oh yeah, let me be intentional about the brand. Let me really think about the strategy. Then there's the other side where it's like you just do so much volume to the point where it's inevitable that it's going to be successful. So the question is, so let me put it, for example, into more perspective. If I'm doing, let's say, if I was posting, let's say, 1,000 videos about me in a month, what do you think? Do you think I'm going to become more popular or not?
Well,
You tell me.
Probability is probably going to be higher.
Much higher, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter what I'm doing.
Yes.
Even if it's like posting videos of me eating paper every single day.
Of
or if
course.
I'm eating paper, it's even going to be better. But
Yes.
yeah, there's the distribution side of things where I realize people aren't accustomed to that here locally. So it's like we recently now we're on this global Namibian project that I told you about. I got there. I was part of the trip as well. One of the girls who was a social media from our team. And I was just like, oh, can I join the trip? I'm just curious what's going to be happening. If it's not a problem, Namibia Tourism Board was like, okay, just come. So I got a little free holiday. But you know, when you're there, you end up working. So me being accustomed to what I always share with our team now, I was like, okay, no, the target for us, let's do 1 million views a day. I think it's possible. You can generate 1 million views a day in terms of media value. And we got there, it's like, okay, so yeah, what's the strategy so that you guys can be posting at least 5 videos a day?
Right.
They're like, no, we kind of thought we just filmed the whole thing, and then when it's done, 3-4 weeks later, we'll do a documentary, then we can start with the content. And then me and my colleague, because we have a standard that we have for our team, right? So it's a bit, it was a little bit also not necessarily shocking. Obviously, it still works. It's like it's still it's different from what we're accustomed. Because from my side, I had the understanding. Okay, we want this thing to be as loud as possible. So then it becomes a thing of volume and distribution.
Right.
So then I quickly realized when we can say things like, "Oh yeah, let's generate 1 million views a day," but people aren't accustomed to it yet. The scale at which the rest of the world is performing. Yeah. So so the scale at which the rest of the world is producing. Because you look at even the one person that's doing this quite well, what I like is, I don't know if you know, the president of Zambia, his name is Akaime. They recently opened, I don't know whose idea it was. I think it was the spokesperson to open a TikTok channel for them. And the way the youth is tapping into that stuff, it's like the way, because we really need to think about it. It's like, how much of our time are people spending on the digital platforms these days? So much,
and
right?
It's a perfect opportunity to influence.
Yeah. So when people start saying
Even if you
things
like propaganda, it's like, yes.
exactly, everything is spreading like wildfire. So it's from a distribution point of view. That's why we wanted to tap into this thing where we can really assist public figures with, because people aren't accustomed to the idea that it's possible to post like 10 times a day. That's what people are doing, you know, and that's how Visitive McQuire is making a lot of money out of content, and how his content is everywhere, right? Just so how is I was about to give a whole masterclass on how it works, and then I realized it's not my podcast. So yeah, but that's something I think we can have a chat about it some other time.
That would be great.
Yeah. So anyways, continuing the conversation. What can we still expect out of you? You know, what do you think the future of African filmmaking and African marketing looks like? You know, and what is on the horizon? What opportunities do you see people tapping into? What opportunities that you are looking to tap into for yourself?
Okay. Yeah. So, well, first of all, like I said, I'm big on co-productions, and so if I can do more co-productions, you know, with producers outside of Namibia, you know, whether it's on the continent or outside the continent, that would be like, you know, solid. You know, like even when we now accompanied the president to Anga in New York, you know, we also, you know, spoke about the creative industry, and that's where she launched the Film City as well on the margins of Anga. And one of the things that I realized with people sort of that I was interacting with, especially, you know, American Black filmmakers, is the fact that, you know, they realize that Africa is the next big thing. And but they're trying to suss it out. They're trying to navigate. They don't know how, you know, to penetrate the African African market. So take, for example, like a Tyler Perry, for example. He's done a lot of great shows. But now imagine Tyler Perry collaborating with a Shuna.
Yeah.
You know, it's all possible. You know what I mean? like what would that look like? You know what I mean?
Mm.
So, and I think that for me, this is how big and wild I want to dream.
Yeah.
I wanna do a production with Tyler Perry.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
I like
And
that.
I don't think that it's impossible. It's
Ignatious
just
will just be
really.
there somewhere,
It's just
maybe on the last page of the what do you call it in the end when you put the list of people that acted, the cast and
yes.
everything?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
there
Yes.
on the last line randomly. Come
Randomly.
on, personal motivator.
Exactly. Even that, I'll take it. I'll take it on the credits.
Yeah, credits. That's what I was saying.
No, yeah, no. So I think that that is one of the biggest dream for me, but also because of my spiritual self. I believe that I'm not here on earth to purely serve myself and my kids, but I've definitely got a bigger responsibility for the people around me or my community. So whenever I just try and just focus on myself and do work for myself, something just keeps reminding me that do like post on the women tribe. What have you done for the women tribe? Because I honestly do feel that we are all put on earth to serve anybody else apart from ourselves. Like whatever serves us needs to serve the next person. Or if God pours into your cup, it's because you need to pour into somebody else's cup as well, whose cup might be empty. So I think that with the foundation as well that I'm in the process of registering for the Women Tribe, which is probably going to be called the Tribe, which will be more community centered and more inclusive, apart from just women. I think through that I can really tap into my philanthropic side of things. Because that's something that I'm really passionate about. I mean, I'm passionate about acting, but I don't think that I'm as passionate about acting as I am about, developing my community and making sure that I've played a part and I've done my part in terms of, helping the next person. Even if it's just to educate, even if it doesn't mean that I help them, financially, but even if it means that I had a hand in helping them change their mindset. So I think that, hopefully as well, with the presidential task force, it will allow me as well to, perhaps interact with other African female leaders within the industry, and perhaps, find collaborative, ways to impact our communities or impact, the creative industry.
Yeah.
So that's currently sort of like, where my mind is at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I was thinking when you were mentioning the whole collaboration between, like, let's say a Tyler Perry or anything. Is it just me? But I really find African movies, especially even South Africa, I find them the most funniest. So I
Yes.
find them much funnier than most of the movies
It's
I've
relatable.
Seen.
It's
It's
home.
probably because of that. It's probably because of that.
Yes.
So there's definitely a market for it, and I'm excited for what you're going to be able to achieve with this. And I'm almost tempted to ask. Oh, there's the air conditioner.
Yay,
Finally.
we have AC. We were getting hot, guys.
Yeah. I'm tempted to ask you, don't you need a PA or something? I'll work for you for free. We even have a contract for the next 3 years. Just me there, whatever you need. I think,
I'll take it.
Yeah, when someone is doing something like this, I think we should look within ourselves. Okay, what sort of support can we give? And that's the thing about support. It doesn't always have to be at a very huge extent
Or transactional, always like what's in it for me?
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's a lot as a country that we can also do for you because you're doing something for the country, and so.
Oh, you're the first person to say that. Don't make me emotional.
I thought, bring us tissues. So as a country, I think, or hopefully, if never and no one ever says it, I'd like for you to know that we have your back. Whatever it is you go out in the world and do.
Oh, thank you for that, please. Yes, and thank you.
Yeah. So, is there anything you would like to share? Something maybe you always think, if I were younger, I wish I knew this. Is there something that always comes to mind when you think of that, or a message you'd like to give out there?
I think it's more like what I said to you earlier on. Off air. It's basically about that. It's basically about life not being a straight line. Because oftentimes we think that, okay, this is the goal, this is the only way, and so let me just run with this. But I think that there's always an opportunity to kind of like rebrand yourself, and rewrite your story and rewrite your future. Because a lot of times, like, we feel limited, because we cage ourselves. We tend to cage ourselves, in one space, and we think that we don't fit in another space, So there's always room for growth. There's always an opportunity to rewrite your narrative, rewrite your story, recreate yourself. There can always be a rebirth of yourself. So, and I didn't know that at some point, because at some point I thought, I'm just gonna do lawyer. Do law and become a lawyer, and and then I'll have a husband, and then I'll have kids, and I'll be fine. And then at some point I was like, oh, but I really like acting. But even when I was registering for law at UNAM, it was full. That's the thing. Sometimes you reach a door and the door is actually locked. So do you stand there and wait for the door to be unlocked, or do you perhaps try another door, And then so I completely did something different, and I did industrial psychology and German studies at UNAM. And even now I'm back at school again. I'm first year this year. So now it's also like a new period for me as well. I'm back to being a student at school at UNAM, sitting with first years, because I wanted to do something new, because I wanted to learn and add on to my education. But honestly, there's always room to rebrand and re-strategize, when something is not working. And don't box yourself, don't cage yourself. So life is really not a straight line. Yeah.
I like that. And now I just want to know from your side, which other creators and countries have inspired your journey as well?
Have inspired my journey?
Yeah, who you look at and you find inspiration in?
I think on the continent, because I'm African before, anything else. But one of the ladies who has just been moving quietly and strategically and so nicely. Shout out, sis. I'm going to mention you. This is Nomzamo Mbata.
Okay.
And she really, she's always, I think for the past, I don't know, maybe 6 years, she's really been an inspiration, with how she's, penetrated the film industry in South Africa, and she just came and did something different, from what was happening, within, South Africa. So I love women who are bold and, who want to do things differently, and who've got, the courage and the ambition to, to just push the envelope, and now she's collaborating with American brands, she's been in American films, but also she's really doing a lot of community work in South Africa as well, where she has a foundation that, takes or pays for girls, university fees or school fees. They've renovated schools, for example.
Wow, yeah.
So she's doing a lot. So she's definitely one of the people that stand out for me. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. And tell me then, what is your legacy all about? What is it that you want to be remembered for? I have so many questions on here. I'm like, can we get 2 more hours? But at some point, we're gonna have to. What's it? A good. What? What? It's something like that. A good.
A good story has to come to an end.
When to end the show.
Yeah, exactly. It's true.
So I need to leave you guys hooked, hanging there. Like, when are you bringing her again? So what is your legacy all about? What is it you want to be known for? When when you're sitting there later on in your chair at home, maybe at some point you're gonna have your little throne at home, the big chair where only Shuna can sit. What are you gonna be thinking of? What is your legacy going to look like?
Look, I don't know what that looks like yet, to be honest, but I definitely want to be a game changer in my country, and hopefully on the continent as well.
Yeah.
So like, just being remembered as somebody who changed the game on the continent. But other than that, I think I just want to be remembered as somebody who was just kind. Yeah. I think kindness really goes a long way, and we take it for granted.
Does. It really does.
Whether it's kind to my children, whether it's kind to my neighbor, whether it's kind to whoever that I meet, I think that, what you do, the impactful things that you do, cool, that stands out.
Mm-hmm.
But there's that saying that, people never remember what you did, but they always remember how you made them feel. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that, honestly, as small as it sounds, I would definitely want that to be, part of my legacy, as somebody, maybe it's also my namesake, because I have a lot of respect for people and human beings. And how I make them feel, I think really matters, and how they experience me as well really matters.
Yeah.
And kindness can be shown in so many ways, whether you renovate a school for somebody, for example, that's being kind, but at the same time, it's being impactful at the same time. So yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I like that. So now, what's your message to the people? I think you've said quite a lot now. I feel like I keep putting you on the spot, with rounding off in the same circle of questions. But I think let's put it like this. We spoke a little bit about family and everything.
Yeah.
Your kids are quite young.
Yeah.
You're still, grinding to make sure they go to the right school.
Yes.
But let's say 15 years from now, maybe even 20.
Yeah.
They're sitting at home. They're in awe of what mom has done. What is it that you want them to keep within them as they go into the world? And a message for them in life as they grow, as they take on challenges, as they do whatever it is they end up doing in the world. What is it that you want your children, maybe more coming down the line?
Oh, no.
Oh,
Lord.
What is it that you want your children to know? What is advice that you would want to give them? A piece of advice that you want them to hold dear?
I think I would want them to remember that character is everything. And that, being ambitious doesn't mean that you don't have to be kind to people. Because, people are individuals. They're going to do what they want to do. As parents, we're just basically just a vessel for these people who are going to become whoever they want to become. You know what I mean? So whatever they do, I just hope that they're authentic and that, they're humble and they're kind to people in whatever they decide to do, because some people forget or some people lose their character in their ambitions, and they end up, being greedy and, valuing money over people. So I hope that, my kids grow up knowing that character and kindness is everything, and that can also take you far, because there are a lot of people who have got a big ego, and that's one thing that limits them as well. But, character and kindness can open up so many doors for you as well, and especially humility as well. So I hope that, they grow up to be brave, courageous, ambitious people, but mostly also kind and humble. Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
I think this has been a very good episode. And
it has.
This
it
was
truly
the
has.
More Than Logic podcast, everyone. And hopefully we can do another one at some point, because I still have a lot to ask you. And I think in 5-10 years from now, I really, really, really deeply mean this when I say this. I hope in 5 to 10 years from now, we can sit and look back at the time where we're like, remember when we spoke about that dream?
Absolutely.
Remember when we spoke about what we wanted to achieve? And
I'll hold you to it to remind me to be like, listen,
yes,
this is the 5-year mark, or this is the 10-year mark.
So the clock has started now for you, and thank you so much for this. I think it's always nice to be graced with someone else who is also a big dreamer, who is also looking at, just making a change in the world. For me, because it is unfortunately a very rare thing. Even more for us, for looking at where we come from, the country as it is, how sadly a lot of people are small-minded. And it's never, and in a lot of cases, it's not even people's fault. you are a result of the exposure you get growing up
Yeah.
sometimes, and what you allow yourself to be exposed to as well.
Yeah.
So it's not a thing of blaming people for where we might be, but I think because of that,
Right.
it is more important now, more so than ever, to really to have more of those people that are pushing
Right.
to really allow
Yes.
people to open their minds to more. Yeah.
Especially with I mean, social media, where
Yeah.
instant gratification is the in thing now. So, but no, I'm really thankful as well for having you here, and for you know, being so kind to recognize, you know, my contributions. You know, I still feel like I'm a small girl who's just begun. So it's humbling, and I just thank you for the opportunity.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shuna.
All the best with you as well, and
Yeah.
that dream, yes, it's gonna happen as well. So we must definitely keep each other accountable.
Yeah, definitely. I'll hold you to it.
All right.
So yeah, thank you, Shuna.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're quite far there. Nah?